Hey, what is going on? Welcome to Moody Talk Sports. We are heading into week 9 for the college football season. And, like I've talked about in the past, I can't predict this college football season. It is very difficult. Thanks to NIL, thanks to the transfer portal, there are a lot of good teams. And I have had such horrible luck, pretty much 3-4 losing weeks in a row, which, by the way, vote against me, you'll win a lot of money. That's what I've been preaching all week, actually all month at this point. But it's hard. There's a lot of great teams, and it's great for the sport of college football. It's great for it. You never know who's going to, there's all kinds of upsets. Miami getting upset by Louisville. Imagine if that had happened 3 or 4 years ago. Like, really get into your mind and imagine if that had happened 3 or 4 years ago. It would be insanity. It's not anymore. It's still crazy, but it's like, well, Louisville's got a good squad. Lots of teams have a good squad. And so I love where college football's at, but I don't like it for betting because it is extremely hard to get these right because upsets, college football's kind of become like the NFL in the any given Sunday, any given Saturday. And it didn't used to be that way. Used to, if Ohio State lost, Ohio State went on I felt like a 10, 12-year run where they just didn't lose a game. If they lost one, it would be like, it'd just be insanity. Not the case anymore. Now teams lose. You're going to lose 1 or 2 games. You're allowed to have a stinker. The college football playoffs that have expanded have made that great. So anyway, not to go on a long rant there, but I love where the sport's at. And what I'm trying to lead into is that there's a big shakeup in the top 10 this week because it was a lot of teams that lost. A lot of teams disappointed me. So let's go ahead and dive right in. This is my top 10 teams going into week 9. Number 10, I have Georgia Tech. Listen, every week I bet on Georgia Tech, whether I have to, lay the points, or this previous week they were the underdogs and I got points and they still blew the other team out. I know that their strength of schedule, I know the competition they're facing isn't the best in the world. I get all that. That's fair. But they're a good team. They blow a lot of other teams out. They're solid. They rarely make mistakes, and right now they're undefeated. So again, I understand not playing the toughest teams, but you're undefeated. I want to sneak them in at 10 there. There's a lot of teams that kind of had it fighting out for 10, but I felt like it was right just to give them a shot because I don't know how long, I don't know if they face anyone good this year. I don't know if they'll ever get a real chance to be in here. It's kind of like UCF, back 6-7 years ago when they went undefeated and couldn't even get a, playoff spot. Kind of like that feel. But this year, if they actually do go undefeated, I think they will get a spot. So who knows? Might be a little Cinderella story. Number 9, I have Miami, the U. Not as energetic as I've said that, in the past few weeks, but a really disappointing loss. They were favored by 12.5. They were at home. Louisville comes in. And I don't know that Miami really ever had a chance in that game. I just really don't. Carson Beck threw 4 interceptions. Not great. Got to clean that up. I had Miami as being my number 1 team for the past 2-3 weeks. I was really excited about them. I was really excited what they were doing. They were improving every week. Again, you're allowed to have a stinker, of course, but that's not one I would have had. They've played a lot of ranked teams that they could have lost to, and I would have said, oh, okay, no big deal. That wasn't one of them. So no disrespect to Louisville either. They got a good squad. Number 8, I have Ole Miss. Now, Ole Miss, this was pretty funny. When Ole Miss was playing, it was like an instant classic, right? It was back and forth, and they actually put up a pretty good showing against Georgia. They really did. But it was so funny. I saw a highlight because I was watching a different game at the time, and the highlight said, there's been no punts yet. It was like the middle of the 3rd quarter, like end of the 3rd quarter, going into the 4th, something like that. And it said there's been no punts yet. Both teams going back and forth, fighting. So I turned over to that game. The first 2 series I watched from Ole Miss, they 3-and-out and they punted. And I said, are you kidding me? I said, I'm not watching this anymore. I said, it feels like this is my fault. So I turned it away, and then they scored after that. I don't know if that's my fault or not. If it is, I'm really sorry. But that was so crazy. They put up a good fight, but I think Georgia's just better. Georgia's a great team, and you're going to see them higher on this list. So it is what it is. Number 7, we have Notre Dame. Notre Dame is a team that, started out slow because they kind of, they had to get the new recruits in. They had to get some pieces put together. They had a tough schedule to start the year. So now that it's kind of evened out a little bit, they're beating good teams. They're scoring consistently. They're a good ball club. They really are. So they're just going to keep rising up if they keep winning. Number 6, I have Oregon. Oregon comes up with another good win. They lost the previous week to Indiana, at 30-10. I thought that was kind of a little bit of an embarrassing loss, not because Indiana's not good. Indiana is great. It's just that you were at home. I thought it would be at least a little bit closer, maybe down to the wire. Never quite felt like that, but another good win, another good team. They're not quite top five, but they're close. They're there. I like them. I'd love for them to go all the way, but we'll see. Number 5, we have Texas A&M, who is a great squad, really played tough this year. They are undefeated. They play LSU this week. They should win, even though it's at LSU. I don't think LSU is any good. But here's the kicker. When they played Arkansas, I just wasn't super impressed. Now, I was impressed with the offense. Putting up 45, it's a tough SEC team, kind of one of those sneaky ones where they don't have a good record, but it's still an SEC team. But overall, you get the win. That does count for something, but I would have loved to have seen a more comfortable win against a 2-5 Arkansas team, especially considering how, good I think this squad is. So they drop a spot or two, but they're still top 5. Number 4, I have Georgia. Georgia, again, kind of starts off slow. Maybe that's kind of the reality of the transfer portal now, is that teams are going to start off slow and they're going to have to build up a little bit because they don't have, the same squad year after year after year. But they just continue to win, and it can be tight games. It can be ugly wins. It can be great wins. It can be, flashy like last weekend. They can kind of just win anyway. And so right now they're looking really good and they're picking up a lot of steam. Another team that's just like that, Alabama. Alabama had that week 1 loss to Florida State. That's now looking like a fluke now that we have more data. I've been kind of really down on Alabama all year because of that week 1 loss. But at this point, they just continue to win. They go in and beat tough teams. They just beat, by double digits. They just beat Tennessee. This is a really good football team, and it's another team that is piecing it together, and they look darn good. They look like a real contender. So I think week 1, you're obviously allowed to have a stinker, like I've said, but I think having one week 1 is especially, forgiving because it's week 1. You don't know what to expect. You don't know there's a lot of experimentation. So Alabama's pretty legit at this point. Number 2, Indiana. Indiana, I think, is top 2. You can argue 1 and 2 all day because I think they're that good. They continue to play well. They're undefeated. They play UCLA this week. This should be another victory. No problem. They play at home. That would be, if they lose this week, they're out of the top 10. I don't care. I'm not moving them down 2 or 3 spots. This is a game where I don't know what the line is, but they've got to be favored by a ridiculous amount. I don't care what UCLA did against Penn State. I don't care what UCLA's done after that. I don't care. Indiana should win in blowout fashion. Just my opinion. Number 1 is Ohio State. I kind of mentioned it a couple days ago, but I kept saying I was looking for more from Ohio State because everyone talked about how they were just the greatest team in college football. They were so much better than everyone else. And I just didn't see that because every game was like 35-7, or 28-14 or whatever. But I kind of had this epiphany, and I realized that because the competition is so much tougher and because college football has become a little bit more like NFL when it comes to competition, those 35-7 wins are impressive. They are. They're more impressive. Like, you look at Kansas City beating the Raiders over the weekend, 31-0, right? The Raiders obviously are terrible, but in an NFL game, 31-0 is still a really impressive win. It really shows you're a good team because the competition, even the worst NFL team and the best NFL team, they're all professional ball clubs. So it makes sense. I think that's kind of how I wasn't looking at Ohio State, and I think that's why I wasn't giving them enough credit. But they continue to win by double digits in almost every single game. They're an amazing team, and they deserve the number 1 spot. I held them out for a while, and I kind of feel foolish for doing that. But at this point, until someone knocks them off that throne, I think it's rightfully theirs. That is my top 10 teams. Real quick, I do want to tell you some teams that were really close on the edge, kind of on the bubble. I haven't been doing the bubble lately, but I just want to go over a couple of them. Vanderbilt, really good. BYU, looking really, really good. Missouri, I still think is an excellent team. Missouri's 1 loss was to Alabama. They lost by 3. A lot of good teams, 3 or 4 in that bubble that are really close. And so I love that because come playoff time, one of those teams could kind of sneak in and have a good run. And so it's going to be exciting. I can't wait for college football playoffs this year. I think it's going to be awesome, but that's still a ways away. We're in week 9. Let's just enjoy it while it's here before it's gone again because those months are lonely. Let's be real. That's my top 10. Hope you enjoyed it. We also have top 10 NFL. We have Men Among the Boys, which is top 10 NFL wide receivers, running backs, as well as quarterbacks. So be sure to check those out as well. We'd love to have you subscribe and like and comment and do all that cool stuff. Thank you for being here, Moody Talk Sports. I will see you again next week. Hopefully we have a great college football Saturday again this upcoming, because it's the day after my birthday, and maybe I'll go to a college game or something. I don't know. We'll see.